Hi guys, this is Heather and hope you've had a good week. We do have a couple things that I want to make sure that you understand before we move forward in the class. The first thing is that this is not a self-paced class, which means you aren't really intended to work ahead, just do all the assignments on your own. I will be posting instructions and help for the assignments. So if you work ahead, you may miss those things and then not know what to do or turn something in and it not be correct. Um, Same thing with some of the readings. As you read, then the assignments and the discussion boards are going to make more sense. So stick with that calendar. And if you want to work ahead, that's fine. Just make sure that you are working ahead by reading as well and asking me questions. But really, it's not a self-paced class. Um, so with that said, many of you have already submitted the first assignment. For the most part, they've been very good. Everything is graded except discussion board. And so that leads us to something else to talk about is discussion board. We only have 7 students as of right now, Friday afternoon, that have done discussion board. And there are 22 of you in the class. So if you have done it, I appreciate it. Um, it's really a time to reflect, to discuss, to learn from one another, a time for you to be able to go to some resources that I send you to through the internet, and I appreciate those who have done that. They are graded, they are worth 5 points. So if you do not do the discussion boards, or if you only halfway do them, then you will not get those points. So if it's something where you just don't understand and you don't know how to do it or how to get to it, there are tutorials online for you to help you with that, or you can ask me. I had somebody call this week, and I think she would attest to the fact that I don't mind whatsoever to call you back and to help you with something. I'd rather you do that than not get the points. Okay, so let me see. Another thing that I wanted to remind you is that you can take the quizzes 2 times. So if you do it once and the automatic feedback comes back that you missed several and you want to do it again, then go ahead and do it again. And in your quiz 2, there is a short answer question about brain research, and I realized that those of you who had already done quiz 2, you were not getting that question correct at all, and I couldn't figure out why. So I looked in the text and it's not in there. That's the reason you were not getting it correct. So everybody will get those 2 points. What's happened is we've had the same textbook for a while for 119, and just this semester are using a new textbook. So if you have one of those new ones, it's not in there. If you have maybe borrowed one from somebody or gotten a used one, it discusses brain research in chapter 2. So I apologize for that. We will hope that there are no more issues like that with the textbook, and I'll try to read ahead and make sure that there aren't any big differences between the old version and the new version. Um, so, brain research, the reason that it was in chapter 2 is because it's really becoming something that early childhood educators can use when advocating for early childhood education. Brain research has shown that it's important for children at a young age to be exposed to new things because connections are made in the brain when that happens. And brain research is discussed in the infant and toddler chapter of the new textbook. So it'll come, but it's just not in chapter 2 like it used to be. So I did want to kind of make sure you knew a couple things about it, for the reason that it used to be in chapter 2 is when we go to legislators to advocate for early childhood education, early childhood dollars, we can use brain research to back that need up, which is really great because for years and years we didn't have any type of research to say, well, early childhood education really does make a difference. It's important for children at a young age to have these experiences. So now we can use that. And we've also learned that it's important for children to move. And that's important because sometimes in school, with school age children, we take out recess, we cut out gym, we unfortunately sometimes use sitting out of recess as a punishment or a type of discipline, but really children need to move. It's not just something that they want to do, they need to do it. So you'll hear more about that as we move along and get to the infant and toddler chapter. There'll be more on brain research, but if you want to research that on your own, it really is very interesting, and it's important for those in the field to know that it's out there. So I want to talk just a minute about developmentally appropriate practices. You have an assignment, which is assignment 2, on developmentally appropriate practices. It's not due for a while, so you don't have to worry about that. But that whole book that you have, it's called Developmentally Appropriate Practices, and it's published by NAEYC, National Association for the Education of Young Children. It is really a guide to help us make sure that what we're doing with young children is appropriate. There are 3 components of developmentally appropriate practice. One is that we want to make sure what we're doing with children is age appropriate. So we know that, for example, if we are asking a 3-year-old to jump rope, it's not really appropriate for their age. They don't yet have the physical motor skills to do that. The second part of developmentally appropriate practices is individually appropriate. So we want to make sure that we are talking to families, talking to children, observing them, knowing what's appropriate for them individually. Because just because you have a classroom of 16 4-year-olds doesn't mean that they all are in the same place or enjoy the same things. So that's why we want to make sure we're being individually appropriate. And the third component is socially and culturally appropriate. There are 22 of you in this class, and you come from 22 different families, and that's 22 different cultures. So we really have to get to know the families and respect the different families and cultures that you have in your classroom. What I would like for you to do to understand more about developmentally appropriate practices is in that developmentally appropriate practices book. Hopefully you all have that. And if you've rented it, hopefully what I'm going to ask you to do is still going to work. But in the back of that book is a DVD. And if you look at the second portion, it says, what does developmentally appropriate practices look like? There's a series of just short little clips and some text that helps describe and explain what developmentally appropriate practices is. It's good to hear from others in the field, and it shows interactions with early childhood educators and children. So that would be a great thing for you to watch. So please, again, if you have any questions, let me know. And we will wrap this discussion board up on Sunday. It will go away, so hopefully more people will go on and discuss. And then be looking for your next participation or discussion board assignment soon afterwards. Don't want to give you the next one until we have finished with this one and I can see that people are going to be able to get on and figure out what to do. Okay, well, thank you very much.